Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name's Tanya, and today I want to introduce you to a recipe for something that's not only quick to make as far as the cooking process of it, the baking process in the oven, but it's easy to prepare ahead of time. You can prepare it the night before, pop it in the oven, and in 30 minutes your meal is done, not including the resting time. You need to let it rest about 5 minutes after you take it out of the oven. This requires a pork tenderloin, not to be confused with a pork loin, which is fatter, just bigger and heftier in size. But this is a pork tenderloin that's very small and slender. Now, it calls for 1.5 pounds pork tenderloin, but if you use a bigger one, just use more ingredients for your sauce that goes on it. This is a garlic Dijon pork tenderloin, and you can use sides as simple as French fries or mashed potatoes, or something as fancy as a roasted or braised asparagus with Parmesan Reggiano, or just any kind of fancy cheese on it. So you name the sides, you worry about those while this is in the oven. But trust me, it's easy to make and it's so good. Kids love it, adults love it. Really, the sauce is what makes it. So stick around and hope you enjoy it, and I hope you try it. Thanks for watching. All right, so we're going to start with our pork tenderloin. Now this is about 2.5 pounds. So there's two tenderloins. There's this one here and this one here, or two pieces to it. The package says there's two pieces. You just have to kind of read closely. So this is the big package. I've already taken it out of the package, kind of rinsed it off, cut most of the fatty pieces off with some scissors because I didn't want all that fat on there. And then that's the dish I have to bake it in. I have a lid for it. So we'll put this aside. Oh, well, first of all, it says to salt and pepper it, so we don't really want to miss that step. Even though there's salt in the mixture we're fixing to make up, we want some salt right next to it. I'm not sure why, but it sounds like a good scientific theory that it makes it better if the salt is right next to it. And you could take this and toss it around if you want to, but I don't want to stick my hands on it right now because I'm fixing to make the paste that goes on the top of it. Or not really a paste, but just a mixture. All right, so I'm trying to get a look at the camera and my countertop here. So, all right, the first thing we want to add to this, since mine is about 2 pounds, the recipe itself calls for 1.5 pounds tenderloin, but mine's about 2.5 pounds, so we'll just add extra of whatever we have in this. So it calls for a tablespoon of Dijon. Here's our Dijon mustard. So instead of a tablespoon, we're going to add about a big giant tablespoon. How's that? All right, so that's our Dijon mustard. Don't use just yellow mustard. This calls for Dijon mustard. It also calls for 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. So we'll go with a little over 2 tablespoons. Nice thing about fixing something like this is you can just make up your sides, whatever you want to go with this. I mean, you could serve anything from French fries to braised asparagus with shredded pecorino romano on it or something. I mean, just anything from plain to fancy, so it's kind of fun. Okay, it calls for a teaspoon of garlic, so you know we're going to overdo that garlic. Let's go with about that much garlic. That's a bunch. Just the way we like it. It calls for 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Now this is a homemade mixture. I just have it in my bottle here where I've made it up, but I'm pretty sure the store just sells Italian seasoning. So we'll go with that much. This has rosemary straight out of my flower bed in it too. I love that rosemary. Okay, it calls for half a teaspoon of sea salt. And so we will go for a little more than that. All right, that's all our mixture is. So you just take and stir that up in your bowl. Of course, you could make this up ahead of time. Stick it in the fridge, just have it ready. In fact, you could do this next step ahead of time. Right now I have my oven preheating to 350, and this is only going to bake for about 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. I mean, since I have a pretty large amount in there, I may leave it in there for 40 or so, but this calls for 30 minutes, so this cooks fast. Tenderloins just generally do cook fast. They don't require that long, slow cooking process like a lot of pork does. All right, let's pull our pork tenderloin. Now, don't confuse tenderloin with loin. This is not a pork loin. This is a pork tenderloin. It's the skinny, kind of shaped like a slug. It's the best description I have of it. Just kind of long and skinny. All right, so we're going to take this and just slather it on there. See, all this can be done ahead of time. You could do this the night before if you're going to serve it for lunch or for dinner the next day. That way you can just concentrate on getting your sides ready. And the sauce on this, oh, it just makes such a good flavored sauce for this. There's no sweetness to this whatsoever. This is pure savory. Unlike a honey mustard sauce or something like that you might use on pork, which is really good too. But this is just different. This is something, I consider it pretty unique. A lot of times you'll read a recipe and it'll say, add this, add that, and you taste it and you're like, well, it kind of tastes just like the other thing I just ate, and it was a completely different recipe. But this, to me, is just a unique flavor. Okay, we'll get all that slathered on there. That's going to bake up so pretty. We are going to, let's see, I think we don't put a lid on this. I'm going to save that lid and we're going to let it cool off. Of course, we're not going to serve this tonight. This is going to be cooked today for a meal later on this week. So there's a look at that. When our oven gets preheated, I'm going to put it in there and bake it for 30 minutes. Then I'll turn the camera back on and show you what it looks like when we bring it out of the oven. Even though we're not going to serve it tonight, I still want you to see what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. So we'll be right back. Okay, so my buzzer went off on my oven at 30 minutes and I came in and looked at it, and I think my pork tenderloins were just more than what I'm used to cooking at a time. Plus they're used to being just laid out on a pan and not being kind of crowded in a pan. So I'm giving it about 15 minutes more because I had more in the pan. That's my excuse and I'm sticking with it because I've made this before. It's not the first time I'm making it, so it's not like I don't know what time to cook it. It's just this is more than I normally cook. Okay, this smells fabulous. Even if it were raw, I'd probably still eat it, maybe, because it smells so good. Okay, I'm going to try to get this close enough to the camera where you can see it. I'm going to see if I can get it in shot. I don't want to tip it out to where the stuff spills out, but this is what this looks like. Now, again, the instructions are to let it rest. Once it comes out of the oven, you're going to let it rest about 5 minutes. Mine's going to rest until it cools off because I'm going to cool off, put the lid on it, stick it in the fridge, and it won't be for dinner for a couple more days. So anyway, we'll see what size we can come up with that. But thank you for joining us. Again, I appreciate so much y'all taking time to watch these. I hear from different people in town and friends of mine, oh, I love watching your videos because it's just like you're sitting in my kitchen talking to me. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate the comments and the encouragement. And please share the videos with anybody you think might benefit from this, just to get people more passionate about cooking better, eating better. And we hope to see you again next time. We'll see what we can come up with then. Thank you.